Thank you, Scott. We've selected a few questions that were submitted by guests in our audience, and we're going to try to get to as many of these questions as possible. So number one, what advice do you have for UMass Dartmouth students to attain success in college and after graduation? What helped you to dream big and not give up?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, and I actually started learning that here, and some things, I came from a vocational background, and when I got here, there were some things that were a challenge, and there were some folks that cared and supported and helped me a little bit after class, over the weekends. I had a friend structure, I had technical mentors, and just great people in general. But I learned at that moment that, I actually think I can do this. If I just work really hard, and you can talk to my friends that are here in the audience, we worked 7 days a week to be as good as we could be and get the most out of our education here. And it was at that point that I realized that, I got it in me, I just might have to work harder than maybe somebody else. So that set me up for success, and I continued that work ethic and that interest and that discipline to really focus the passion in the right direction for that. So I would just say, set your goals and just keep working on it. You might have to do something different than somebody else is doing, but just have faith in yourself and follow your heart.
Thank you. Could you speak about your time as a Navy pilot and how it led to your path towards becoming an astronaut?
Yeah, so I decided a long time ago to be an astronaut, and one of the paths that I could take is to fly airplanes and be a test pilot. And I was already enlisted in the Navy because they were helping me get through school. And so it was natural for me to go be a Navy pilot. And I liked the community, and it was a fairly, seemed like it would be an easy transition. And there's nothing easy about it. But but I did it with knowledge that, hey, you know what, there's a really small chance of me actually getting to the astronaut corps. And right now, there's 18,000 applications on any given cycle. And they pick maybe, 5 pilots out of those. So anything I did, I knew I was going to have to enjoy doing for the rest of my life. And so I made sure that when I made a decision to go on a certain path or take a certain focus or a certain direction, that was what I wanted to do anyway, to be, and hopefully it would lead to success as an astronaut for that. And I was very fortunate that it did, but the time as an active duty flyer in operational theaters, absolutely amazing. As I said in some of my videos, the folks that you're working with on the front line are absolutely phenomenal. They're anywhere from 18 years old to 60 years old, and they are working their butts off. They're covered in head to toe in grease. They're working 24-hour shifts, and they're still coming up to the ladder at the airplane asking me if I'm ready to go. And it's absolutely amazing. But the amount of things that you have to do operationally and just to be able to adapt and overcome real time, in the air, as well as when you're leading 300 or 400 people, really takes some patience, and it takes a lot of focus and passion to take care of people, and that's what it's all about. So that's how it helped.
So there were several questions about the psychological effects of space travel. Was there an issue that you didn't expect to deal with? What does an astronaut do to overcome boredom? And what do you do for fun on the space station? So
the second question about the boredom, I would love it if I had a chance to be bored on station. Believe me, they keep us working. I mean, we're scheduled for 14 hours every day. And there isn't a whole lot of time after the fact or before that to really take care of your personal stuff. So a lot of times when the cargo vehicles come up, there's basically a month of science, and so you don't get the weekends. And so you really kind of put yourself in a little bit of a deficit for the short term to get the mission done. And so any time that you might have been bored, you're probably asleep. And so that doesn't really focus into being bored too much. For that, and there's always something to clean up or something to do, someone at home to communicate with, so it all works out okay. what do we do in our off time? Occasionally we'll watch a movie. We have a big screen and we bungee ourselves to the floor so we don't float away, and we watch it. And of course, when we got your little drink bag of Tang or orange juice or something, you just let it float there and it just kind of floats away. And if you get these 4 bags there, or 5 bags, or 6 bags, depending on how many crew are up there, and you can't ever remember whose is whose, so you're just drinking everybody else's stuff anyway, and it's kind of funny. And anyways, the jokes that we played on each other was pretty good. And sometimes we just relax and read and communicate with home and listen to music. We all have nanopods up there with thousands of songs on them, and we just do that.
Sounds very peaceful, actually. Yes. So this question is from Devin Medeiros, a junior at Diamond. How has life on the International Space Station changed your viewpoint on the current state of technological progress on Earth? Do you think we're able to improve even more now after seeing all the complications of life beyond the surface of our planet?
Yes. Did it surprise me? No. Were there things up there that surprised me that really give me more hope than I had before? Yes, a little bit, but I had a lot of hope before I left. I mean, we're doing wonderful things in our labs and in our facilities back here on Earth. But some of the things that we did up on station, you kind of look at it and you go, wow, I never heard of that. That is awesome. That's pretty good. One of them is polymers. We were looking at how polymers mix. And on Earth, the polymers come into the mixing area, and then they kind of fall down, wherever gravity is, and they combine that way, and then when they harden and become, plastics and vinyls and whatever you want them to be. But in space, they don't do that, right? Because you don't have gravity. So we've eliminated that as a variable, and they're seeing totally new structures that are stronger and more durable. And it's amazing. And Procter & Gamble estimated that we're going to have an impact on that little experiment. That little experiment will have an impact on about 4.8 billion people on the planet, which is absolutely amazing. For some of our combustion research, which affects anybody using furnaces to either heat or melt or warm or do whatever they do for systems down here. Normally flames burn at about 1,500 degrees to be, as a stable flame. We're seeing cold flames at about 800 degrees, and they're very stable in microgravity. So we're trying to study that and figure that out. That could have a pretty big ramification on how we work our systems here. But we're also seeing effective ion wind, which is, you have cathodes inside the combustion chamber, and you put a current through it, and you make an ion wind that's going through the chamber, and we can actually control the direction of the flame, and whether it's a big flame or a little flame, with electricity, which we've never seen before. This is really cool. But there's tons of those things going on. We actually work with rodents very professionally and very systematically per the governing regulations, but just like we do on Earth, and we're getting fantastic physiological type research that helps. And of course, bone loss is always an impact because we have a lot of folks that suffer from osteoporosis and things like that. So there's lots of research going on there, and there's a lot of it that's making back home. There's a great app. It's called SSRX, but if you get to the App Store and download it, it has every experiment that we're working on and what its usefulness to Earth is. It's a really cool. I get it right on my iPhone, so it's pretty cool.
So how did this experience affect your view of yourself as an individual in the universe? Has your perspective changed on any global issues?
So I already knew I was a very small person, not only in stature, but in the grand scheme of things. My only goal in life was to do whatever I could as one of 7 whatever billion people on the planet to make it a better place. And going to the station was not only a personal dream, but as you get older, it becomes more about a dream to be able to have an impact on humanity and the direction of the human race on that. So without a doubt, I'm thinking bigger, even bigger than I was before, just from my stay on station. But all that being said, it reconfirmed everything that I thought about this wonderful planet and the wonderful groups of people that we have all over this world. That it is a beautiful place. We are on a spaceship right now, and it's hurling through the universe at ungodly speeds. And we need to take care of it, and we need to take care of each other.
So this next question is from Drew Patel, grade 5 at Global Learning. How did your education in mechanical engineering relate to being an astronaut and living on board the International Space Station? Were there classes that you took at UMass Dartmouth that especially prepared you for success in graduate school and your career?
Yeah, so mechanical engineering is really fundamental to how I think and how systems work. And if you saw a lot of the slides in the movies, we were in and out of mechanical systems, electromechanical systems. We were in, and even the spacecraft is an electromechanical aerodynamic system. Everything comes back to F equals ma, and some other basic laws, the laws of thermodynamics as well. So just having a basic understanding on how that works, and understanding everything has a cost. There's always a loss somewhere. You just have to figure out where it's going to be, and making the you can always boil it down to fairly simple equations to think about it bigger before you go into the details. And having that capability and that background has been critical and has been foundational to everything that I've done for that. And I learned all that here at UMass Dartmouth for that. So, it's to me, it's just all about the fundamentals.
Go engineering.
By the way, just to follow up on that, I was trying to get a good video and a good schematic. Unfortunately, all of our stuff is ITAR, which means it's International Trade Agreement. You can't put it up on the screen or whatever. But Ron, I actually replaced a thermal pump that was bigger than the 8-cylinder we used to play with. It was huge, and it was all our medium temperature cooling loop in the space station. And it had broke, and we had approximately 24 hours to get it in and out. And so I was crawling underneath that thing and pulling out fittings and shredding my arms underneath to try to make all the connections and all this. And I thought about you every second of that job.
That's great. Okay. So the next question is from Nora McClurkin, grade 5 at Alma Del Mar. So who in your life supported you and helped you go to space and get you through your time on the International Space Station?
Well, that's definitely my family. I have a lovely wife, Raynette, an older daughter, Amy, a middle son, Sean, and a younger son, Eric, the goof that was up there playing with his application up there on the screen there. They have been absolutely wonderful. I have my mom here, my dad, who's not here, but was also supportive. Communicated with my mentors back here, Ron, thank you very much. And my friends, John and Laura are sitting right there. I'm sure there's others here that I haven't seen yet. I got my hometown folks in Randolph, and I have all my friends and family at NASA. They really care about people. They really care about families, all the military. We know we're doing a hard job. And, if something breaks at home, they're on it. They get there before I even know that they know something's going on with whatever it is that's broken on that. But the op tempo was pretty heavy. For 3 years I was away from home 230 days a year in training, and then that led into being gone for 8 months, which included 6 months on station. So it's a tough job, and couldn't do it without the support of my families, of which UMass is part of. So thank you.
So we have time for one final question, and this is from the 7th grade class, science class at Hastings Middle School.
There they are, way up there.
Yeah. What did it feel like the first time you felt zero gravity?
It actually feels like you're flying upside down, so it felt normal for me. But right after, it's about an 8.5 ride up to low Earth orbit, and once the main engine cuts off, that's where you feel it, and because all the accelerations die out and you're just floating. And you undo the buckle, and that's actually my first thought was in my gravity, it's like, finally I can sleep, which was good because I'd been up for about 40 hours. But the first time you get there, you go through a fluid shift. And so all the fluid that's in your legs and in your gut comes up to your head. And while it's doing that, it makes your inner ear feels like it's turning. And so it felt like even though I was seeing the map in my brain, everything was normal, I felt like I was upside down. It was pretty cool, you know, just kind of sit there and play with it a little bit and see what happens. But that's what it felt like. And, you know, after a couple hours, it was pretty good. The Soyuz actually has the solar arrays on it, and we spent 2.5 days in the Soyuz preparing to we're getting in phase in the orbit so that we could dock successfully to the station. And we had to go into solar spin. And so it doesn't spin like this. It spins like this. Yeah, so you'd think that would be really disorienting. But I figured out that, hey, if I put my feet on the ceiling and my head in the middle, then it pulls the fluids out of my head and into my feet. And I actually tied a string to my finger and tied it to the control panel, and it actually held me in place. And I got one of the best night's sleep I've had in a long time. It's just physics. It's just mechanics.
Using that centrifugal force in your favor.
Absolutely.
Yes. Very good.
Yep.
So thank you, Scott, for sharing this experience with us. We're very proud of all of your accomplishments. So to the students in the audience, the visiting students and the UMass Dartmouth students, I hope you've learned today that no matter what career path you follow, that this is where UMass Dartmouth education can take you. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.